Playing Football Manager for the first time can be pretty daunting. There is a lot going on and a lot to learn. And in this video, I'm going to take you through step by step everything you need to do on day one in your new job before you even hit continue for the first time. And when you do get the game set up for the first time, the first thing you see is going to look an awful lot like this. It takes you straight to your inbox and straight to the news item announcing that you have been given the job. If you don't even know how to get to this point, I do have another video in this playlist. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Football Manager, and it literally takes you through step by step how to set up a game for it to work exactly how you want it to work. So if this is already a step too far, go back, watch that one, come back here. This is actually part of a tutorial series that I'm doing for new players, taking you through how to get up and running in the game. So in this one, as mentioned, it's all about the things to do before you press the continue button up in that top right hand corner for the first time. So we have been given our job, and really as a general rule when playing Football Manager, a good thing to do is just always check your emails. It's like having a real job. Just always check your emails, have a look to see what's going on in here, and they generally do point you in the direction of the things that you should be cracking on with. There's a couple of extras that I'm going to throw in there as well, but by and large you can get through just by following what's going on in your inbox. So it tells us what our supporter profile is. I can confidently tell you, you don't need to worry too much about this screen. The only thing that's really important on here is the supporters' culture and expectations, because if you start failing this kind of stuff, that can start to build up the kind of pressure that could lead to the board losing patience with you and sacking you from your job. So just be aware of roughly what the supporters are expecting of you. You'll already know what the board expect of you, because when you're setting the game up, they tell you what the expectations for the season are. So we already know our board expectations are these. You can find them in Club Vision if you need to check them at any time. But this tells us what the supporters expect. So we know, managing Arsenal, they want us to play attacking, entertaining football, finish above Spurs, Man United, Chelsea and Liverpool in the league, and become recognised as best of the rest. Reading between the lines, it's fine if we don't win the league. It's fine if we finish behind Manchester City, but we really need to be finishing in second place. That's what they're... And we have to do it in style, attacking, entertaining football. So, you know, they're not asking for much, are they? Goodness me. We then get further confirmation of the club expectations, which, again, we'll have already had this before now, but now we're agreeing to. You actually do have the option to negotiate this stuff at this stage. I've never successfully done a negotiation season one. You can try. If there's stuff in here you want to take out, you can try and take it out. But really, the negotiation is the kind of stuff that you'll have more success with 2, 3, 4 seasons down the line when you've built up a little bit of a reputation and the board start to trust you a little bit more if you try and take anything out now. So if we take out signed players under the age of 18 for the future, I would suggest... Yeah, they're just going to put it straight back in again. You're not going to be able to do any negotiations at the start, but you get this message every pre-season. You can have this negotiation with the board. So once you are a little bit more established in the job, you can negotiate like season goals. They're saying challenge for the Champions League. Then you can actually say, you know what? I'd rather I want to add in winning a domestic cup. Or you might, I mean, there's certain things it's not even going to let us negotiate because we're with a bigger club. I'm going to take that out. I don't need to add in an extra goal for myself. They've now added it in there. Brilliant. Don't fiddle too much with that screen, boys and girls. And there is your confirmation. So this is what we've got to do for the season. We have to reach the quarter-final minimum in the Champions League, qualify for the Champions League through the league. But remember, the fans have already told us they want us to finish second, basically. So top 4 is enough for the board. You're probably not going to get sacked if you finish 4th, but the fans are going to start rumbling a little bit of murmurings of discontent. They also want us to reach the semi-final of the FA Cup and win the Community Shield. Now, each one of these has a level of importance as well. So although they'd quite like it if you win the Community Shield, you're not getting sacked if you don't. However, the Champions League quarter-final and Premier League top 4 are both required. Miss either of those, you could be in trouble. And then also on this screen, you get confirmation of what your transfer budget and wage budget is for the upcoming season. Next email is expiring player contracts, and you can decide from here clear what you want to do with these. Now, you don't actually have to deal with this now, so don't feel that you have to. But if you're managing a team that you already know quite well, you might feel like you know already that you don't want to give Cedric a new contract, for example. If it's a club that you know absolutely nothing about, you want to get a feel for first, you can just ignore this. Just have it in the back of your mind that you've got some players whose contracts are going to be expiring. It's something you can check at any time anyway, because if you go onto the squad list, if you use my custom squad view, which it's called the LOLLUJO view. If you're watching this after the full game is out in November, you can just get this off of the Steam Workshop. Or I've got a video on the channel. It literally says custom views in big letters on the thumbnail. I'll link to it down in the description below, and that actually has a download of the custom view and instructions of how to install it. And then once you've got that installed, you've got all of this information about players at any times anyway, so you can see when contracts expire, and you can just sort it by contract expiry, and again see at a glance whose contracts are up this season. So for now, I'm not going to do anything. You also have the option, it's behind my head. Let me just move my head. There you go. My head has been removed for a moment. You can see down here, you do have the option to apply remaining recommended actions. So if you click that, your assistant manager will actually go through and follow up on these expectations. So in this example, won't do anything for most of them, but a Mario Kozia Dubry will get offered a new contract that your assistant manager would negotiate for you. So you do have the option of just delegating it, and we'll get on to delegation in a second because it is something you're going to want to do in the early days. I'm back. Excellent. Next up, tactical direction. It's going to ask you to create a tactic. You can't even use the squad planner until you've created a tactic. So creating a tactic is something you're going to have to do very early on, day one, before you hit continue. And again, depending on the type of club you're managing, this is easier or maybe less easy. With a club like Arsenal, who are obviously on telly all the time, even if you don't support Arsenal, it's fairly quick and easy to figure out what you want to do. You probably want to do a 4-3-3. It suits the squad that they've got. But let's assume you're at a club where you maybe don't know what to do, and I'll show you how I would go around and decide on a system. I will be making a video later on in this series going into more depth on the ins and outs of the tactic, but just to get a feel for a system early on, the first thing I'm going to do is get all of these players out of my view who are out on loan at other clubs. There's two ways to do it. One, you could go on filter and hide players who are not at the club. That gets them out of the way. So you can do it that way if you just want to not be able to see them, or if you don't want them anywhere near your first team squad cluttering things up, you can just send them down to your under 21s. For now, I'm just going to hide players who are not at the club because we don't need to know about them as far as I'm concerned. They don't exist. So if we then sort our squad by ability, it will show us who our best players are. Pretty basic tip for playing Football Manager. You want to find out who your best players are quickly and then build a system that works well for your best players. So according to these star ratings, and star ratings are the opinions of your staff. They are not set in stone. They can vary. They'll vary according to the quality of your staff, the form of your player. These are not absolute set values, but they're a decent rule of thumb, certainly at this stage. We've got 3 players who have been given 4 stars, and it's fairly safe to assume they're our 3 best players: Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice. So we're going to want a system that fits these players in. So Bukayo Saka, best as an attacking midfielder on the right. So straight away, okay, we want an attacking midfielder on the right. Odegaard and Rice, best in central midfield. We want a system that has at least 2 central midfielders in it. And we start to go further down the list. We've got a left back, Zinchenko, 4th best player. He's a left back. He's not a left wing back. He's not a left winger. He is a left back. So we probably want a flat back 4. So we're, again, formations starting to form in the mind. We've then got Kai Havertz, who's a central midfielder. Thomas Partey's a defensive midfielder, as is Jorginho. So we've got options here, what we do with our midfield 3. We could do a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, or we could do like a 4-2-3-1 and have an attacking midfielder, because Odegaard could play in that role. Rice could play as a defensive midfielder as well. Havertz could play as the attacking midfielder. Partey could play defensive midfield or central midfield, same as Jorginho. So you've got a few options, but I think we probably know what we're going to be doing. So we click on the tactics tab, and then the first thing you have to do on here is choose a tactical style. There's lots to choose from. It does explain for each one what they are. So if you click on them, it'll give you a little bit of an overview of how that tactic works and the formations that work well with it, and then gives you a little visualized example of it up and running, and also gives you more detail on the actual instructions you'd be giving your team. Helpfully, on this screen, you get these little thumbs ups, which are what your assistant manager thinks are the most suited tactical styles to how you want to play. So wing play, for example, is really suited to this Arsenal squad. It's a tactical style where you look to get crosses into the box, overload the wide areas. It suits a 4-4-2, a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, or a 5-2-3 with a defensive midfielder. We know we don't want to do a 5-2-3 because we've already decided on a flat back 4. We could do our 4-3-3 using this system. The other ones that are recommended, we've got the Gegenpress, which fits the 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, and a 4-2-4. So there's 3 different systems there that all fit the players that we've got. And control possession, again, has 2 of the 3. So the 5-2-3 doesn't really fit the players that we've got. So based on us having the most flexibility, I'm going to go with the Gegenpress for now. We can go into more depth on this in the tactics video. And then from here, choose a tactic. Now, my assistant manager thinks the most suitable tactic for us is a 4-2-4 with 2 defensive midfielders. I'm going to overrule him here because we've already looked at our squad list and we know that our midfielders are actually better. Their best positions are as central midfielders, not defensive midfielders. We have the players to do the defensive midfielder thing. We could have, if we go back to that tactic, we could do this and have Declan Rice and Thomas Partey sat in those 2 roles. But then where does Odegaard go? There's no room for our best player, Martin Odegaard, in that system. We've got a 4-2-3-1 with 2 defensive midfielders. So now we've got Odegaard there. We've got Rice and Partey, but Rice isn't playing in his best position because that's central midfield, according to the previous screen. There's no room here for Kai Havertz either. So I think we're going to go for the 4-3-3, which just so happens to be the one that Arsenal use in real life. Confirm that. And now we have a tactic. From there, there's lots of fiddling you can do with player instructions, tactical instructions, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of out of the scope of this video. There'll be, like I say, a video later in the series where we go into more detail on setting up a tactic when you first arrive at a club. For now, we're just trying to get that tactical shape. You can get an idea straight away of how your players might fit into it as well by clicking on suggestion advice. So we can see that all of those best players are in there in roles that they'll like as well. If we come back here, the first player in when we're still listed according to star rating that doesn't make it in is Thomas Partey. And you could very easily, looking at that squad, you could very easily put him in for Havertz, put him in for Rice, fit him in somewhere. But that seems like a pretty sensible tactical shape for this Arsenal team. So we'll leave this screen here for now, because what doing that allows us to do is now have a look at our squad planner. The squad planner takes the tactical shape that you're using and then lists the players that you've got in order of their suitability for each of the positions within that. It's a very good way to get a very quick overview of how your squad is looking. At any point, you can ask your assistant to redo this list for you, or you can actually just drag players around. If you disagree, there you go. We can move Eddie Nketiah above Martinelli on that side if we think he should actually be there. We'll just go back to leave it the way the assistant's got it for now. But there's a few different things you can look at using the squad planner. If you click show full squad view, as at a glance, you can see your team in formation with the best 3 players in each of the positions. Now, there's going to be players that duplicate across multiple positions. You can see on here, Declan Rice is actually the #1 ranked player in all 3 of our midfield positions. He obviously can't play in all 3 of them at the same time. You can actually get around that by going back to this screen. And if you've decided you're definitely going to play Declan Rice as your defensive midfielder, you can actually remove him from the squad planner in these other positions, so that you then get an overview that doesn't have Declan Rice getting in the way. So you can manually do it so you've only got players in one position at a time. You can even do it from this screen. So if we want William Saliba, for example, to play on the right hand side of the centre backs, we can take him off the list for the left hand side. Declan Rice can come off there as well, because we know we're playing him in midfield. did I just take the wrong guy off? No. So Gabriel can come off of the right-hand side, so we know he's going to play on the left. Ben White can come off of the left because we know he's going to play, etc., etc. Timber, he'd probably play on the right of the two. Tomiyasu. So we've got two players there who are left footers. Obviously, if you don't know the squad as well, you can go through and check what foot they use, check what preference they've got. So you can see on there when you hover over that position, you can see that he prefers to be on the left of a two-man pairing. So we want to leave him on the left of the two-man pairing and get an idea of how your squad is looking. That gives you that and allows you to start thinking in terms of what you might need to add to your squad. You can also get a quick overview of that from this screen because each position is rated according to ability. So based on the ability of the players in the roles, the two weakest positions are the two fullback positions, where we're only getting 2.5 stars for our fullback positions. You can also see the squad depth that we've got in each of these positions. That's based on me having a little bit of a fiddle. So let's just put everybody back in for the squad depth. So you can see that the squad depth area that we're weakest, ignoring goalkeeper, again, is the two fullback positions. And you can also see the current roles you've got set up for those positions as well. But as a quick glance there, it would suggest the positions we need to strengthen the most are fullback. You can have a look at those fullback positions to decide if you agree. And looking at this, if we start at right back, I mean, Tomiyasu can cover either side. Ben White is kind of a centre-back who can play right-back. Thomas Partey, you don't really want him in there. Timber is a centre-back who can play full-back. Cedric, you don't really want in there. So if you're considering White and Timber to be centre-backs, you then start making that argument of, yeah, we probably do need a right-back. Again, looking at left-back, I don't know. There you go. You even get a message on there when you've got poor positional depth. And we should launch a recruitment focus. The game prompts you. It really does. And again, you could take people out of this side if you say, well, Timber's not going to play left back, Kiwior's a centre back, Cedric's a right back. And again, it indicates that you might want to do a recruitment focus. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to work out where we're going to be recruiting, what we're going to be doing for this recruitment focus stuff. What it means by recruitment focus, you go into the scouting screen, you can go up here to recruitment focus, and then you can create a recruitment focus. We want a right back who can play in our team. We don't mind if they're transfers or loans. Ben White was our first choice right back, and he had 2.5 stars of current ability, 3.5 stars of potential. So we want somebody better than Ben White. So we want someone who has got at least 3.5 stars of potential and 3 stars of current ability. We want them to be under 30, and we can then confirm that. And that is then something that our scouts are going to go and look at. It's a recruitment focus. We could do the same for the left-hand side. We're now already starting to do a little bit of scouting for areas of our team that might need a little bit of a strength in depth. You can do the recruitment focus stuff at any time. You don't have to do it on the first day. I would recommend you do it as early as possible. As soon as you start to see the gaps you've got in your squad, get your recruitment focuses in, because the sooner these are in, the sooner you'll start to get players come through on your scout reports who will improve your team. You will be prompted to do this as well. If you forget this, you don't do it, you get a couple of days in, you're like, oh, I didn't do the recruitment focus stuff. Don't worry, you will be invited to a recruitment meeting and they'll kind of take you through the process of doing it anyway. I'm just trying to give you a head start on that system. If in doubt, back to the inbox. So we've done that. We're not sure what to do next. There's still 4 unread emails. Let's get to the inbox. And by the way, all this tactic stuff you can do tutorials on as well. It's not offered them to me because I've played the game before. But if you click create tactic now from this screen, if you're playing it for the first time, you will get a tutorial that pops up and explains how to do it. I would recommend you go through all those tutorials when they come up. They are really, really good. Pre-season preparation stuff, just letting you know who you've got in your pre-seasons, what training you're doing. If you want to get involved in training here, you can. I would recommend as a new player, you don't. In fact, I would recommend you don't get involved in quite a lot of stuff. So we're going to come over to the staff at the staff screen. So we've clicked on staff on this left-hand side, and specifically we want to go into staff responsibilities. And from staff responsibilities, that screen is very daunting, so we ignore that one. But then you can start going into each of these different areas of staff responsibility, and we're going to delegate a lot of this stuff to other people. And I recommend at the start of the game, you delegate almost everything, and then gradually try 1 or 2 things at a time, decide if you like them. If you like them, carry on doing them. If you don't like them, delegate them back again. There's absolutely no shame in playing Football Manager with a load of stuff delegated. As an example, I never hire my own staff. I find it really boring and tedious, and I just delegate it. And I've been playing this game for more than 25 years, and I just delegate all of the staff hiring, staff contract renewals, all of this stuff. I delegate to the appropriate member of staff. It's usually the technical director, the director of football, the chairman, somebody who's not me. And now staff hiring and firing is just going to take care of itself. I don't need to get involved. And that's how I like it. This screen, I tend not to touch too much. You can change which members of staff give you which pieces of advice. In my experience, it's usually pretty close to where you want it to begin with. It's the sort of thing you'll fiddle with when you're a more advanced player. When you're starting out, you can leave that screen alone. But then we'd just go through each of these and pretty much just delegate them all. We're going to delegate scouting, although we've just done a little bit of the scouting ourselves. Just because we've delegated doesn't mean we still can't touch it and tweak it if we need to. Transfers is probably the one area I do leave on and do myself. For me, transfers is the most fun. You might decide you don't want to do transfers. If you don't want to do your own transfers, you can even delegate that and just have your technical director, your director of football, doing all of the transfers for you. I'm going to leave them on because I like doing them. But it really is as flexible as that. The media stuff I find tedious, so I delegate that. Give it a try if you want to. I wouldn't give it all a try at the start. Still at the start of the game, I would delegate all of this. So I'm delegating the training as well. I'm going to delegate the team advice, opposition advice stuff within tactics. I'm going to delegate managing friendly matches. I'll do the touchline shouts myself because I don't mind doing them. And then I'll also delegate the set piece stuff as well. I'm just delegating everything, because at the start of the game, there's so much going on that the more you can delegate to your other members of staff, the less daunting everything else is going to be. And then as soon as you've mastered the other bits, bring some of this in. Decide what you want to do. Give it a try. If you like it, do it. If you don't. It's fine. It's your game. Seriously, play it however you want. We've now got an update on who's injured and how long they're injured for. Just an informational thing for you. More information telling us about our squad selection rules, so we know what we're allowed to register into our squads, and also a summary of the transfer window so far. And our inbox is now done. So there's just a couple more things that we're going to want to do before we hit continue, and it's pretty much a case of just going down here and just checking that you've done everything within each screen. So we've already looked at the squad. We know we've done that. We've already looked at our squad planner, so that's fine. Dynamics is worth a quick look. It basically tells you how happy your squad are. If your squad are unhappy, they won't play well. Our club atmosphere is excellent, but because we're brand new in, we've set up a new tactic, so team cohesion isn't there yet because we haven't started training the new tactic, and we're a new manager. We don't really have the managerial support. There are things that might impact early performances, so just really things to be aware of. But particularly if club atmosphere starts to drop, if you start to get players on here who are unhappy, you will notice it affect your team and how they perform. So be aware of it, because you might have to do something about it. And that's something we'll address in one of the future videos. Tactics, we've already looked at. We'll go into more depth in that in a future video. Likewise, set pieces. There is a whole new set piece system in FM24 that is way beyond the scope of this video. For now, it's just enough to know it's there. You don't need to fiddle with it. We've delegated it, as you can see, to my set piece coach for now. But at any point, you can step back in and take it over, and there will be a video showing you how to do that. The data hub, you can't do anything with yet because you need to have played a few matches before you can touch the data hub. So don't worry about this for now. It even says on there, after 3 league matches. So we're way away from being able to go into the data hub and do anything there yet. Our staff screen is nice for a little overview. These bar charts here show you how you compare to the best and the worst setups in the league. So for goalkeeping, shot stopping, we're below average. We only have the 12th best coaching in the league for goalkeeper shot stopping. So you might want to I mean, if again, it's one of those optional things. If you really want to deal with this, you could go and hire and fire a load of staff. I've already delegated it to my technical director. What that doesn't mean is it doesn't mean I can't go on here and put some job adverts out and get people applying for these vacancies, because you can see we've got vacancies. We've only got 5 of our 10 coaches that we're allowed. We've only got 14 of our 20 scouts that we're allowed. So even though someone else is doing the hiring and firing, we can still prompt them a little bit by putting these job adverts out for all of these different roles that we've got vacancies for. So I'll just go down each of the ones that we've got vacancies for, put out a job advert, and then a little bit down the line, we'll get people coming in and applying for these jobs. We can ignore that and leave it to the technical director to pick the best one, or you can have a little bit of say and offer to the ones that you think are most suitable. The training page, again, it's been delegated. We know this is being dealt with by our good buddy Albert. The one thing Albert won't do is mentoring. So it's always worth periodically clicking on training, clicking on mentoring, and you can usually click ask assistant to assign. For some reason, he doesn't have any recommendations at the moment, so we won't do any mentoring currently. It might be because the players aren't back from their summer holidays yet, but every now and again, just pop on here, click ask assistant to assign, and it'll put players into mentoring groups. It's another thing that's beyond the scope of this video, but we'll talk about in a future one in this series. The medical centre, I will level with you, I rarely even touch. It tells you how likely someone is to get injured and gives you a list of the players that are injured. I feel like this screen gives me enough information there anyway. We can see from here that Jurriën Timber is injured for 11 to 12 months. I don't need a picture of his knee to know that it's injured. That is plenty for me. I know he can't play. Our schedule is another area where I like to have a custom view. It will be within the same download as the custom squad view. My custom view just means that you don't have to choose between one that only shows you the scores, one that only shows you the goal scorers. My custom view includes both, and I like it. You'll probably like it too. If you watch enough of my videos, you'll get used to seeing it. You'll want it. It's easy to download. It'll be on Steam Workshop as soon as that's available. Competitions gives you a summary of the competitions that you're in, and also the expectations in them and how far along you are towards meeting those expectations, whether or not you pass them or not. So it's worth checking in on every now and again. But if you start failing expectations and struggling, your board will let you know about it. Don't you worry. Scouting, there might be a few players scouted when you first arrive. You can see we've got a few, but really scouting will start to kick in from now. You've got your scouts that you're sending out. We've set our scouting focus for right backs. You've got your recruitment meeting coming soon as well. So I wouldn't rush into doing any signings from here just yet, especially because we've only got £5 million to spend, so we probably can't afford anybody yet either. We're likely to have to sell to buy in this scenario, but this is where you'll find your players when they start coming through. Another route that you can use to identify players is via Director of Football. So if you do want to fast track the process, you can go to your transfers tab, Director of Football, suggest transfer targets, and because we know we want a right back, for example, we can click on right back, ask for suggestions for right backs that we can sign, and then he's suggested 3 potential right back signings. What you can then do is scout them. So you can actually highlight all of them by holding down the shift button, clicking the top and the bottom of the list, highlight them all, click get scout report. And now those 3 players will all have scout reports coming in. So within a week or so, we'll do the same for left back. Within a week or so, you'll have scout reports on 3 options at left back, 3 options at right back, and you can decide whether or not you want to sign them. Club info. Again, it's literally has info in the name. It's just an informational thing. If, by the way, you want to add the custom kits, the custom badges, the custom faces that you can see throughout this, there's tutorials for those already on the channel as well, so you can go and dig those out. But this is quite handy just if you ever need to find stuff out about your football club. It's probably in here somewhere. Club vision, we've already looked at. That's confirmation of what your targets are for the season. Finances is where you find out how much money you've got to spend, how much wages you've got to spend. You do have to stick to these budgets. It won't let you not stick to these budgets, so be aware of them. And then lastly, your development centre is where you can monitor the young players you've got at the club. So we can see we've got a really high potential youngster called Ethan Nwaneri, who is worth keeping an eye on. He's probably not ready for the first team yet with 2 stars of current ability, but worth keeping an eye on, maybe using in some pre-season friendlies, maybe using in the Carabao Cup. And you can also keep an eye on the players that you've got who are out on loan as well. And as this is a big Premier League club, there are a lot of players out on loan. Doing all of that has added us a whole load of new inbox things. It's just your job adverts, so you can just ignore all of those. And we are finally ready to hit continue for the very first time, which is where this video comes to an end. And we'll pick up from this point in a few days' time in a video that will be called Your First Week in Football Manager, which will take you through the stuff that you do over the first 7 days or so. We'll be looking at a little bit more into how to identify transfer targets, maybe even do some transfers in and out. We'll play our first friendly. We'll really get a feel for what's going on and start getting ready to maybe think about some tactics and preparing for the league season. So keep an eye out for that. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss out on that one. This is all going in a nice big tutorial playlist as well. So if you are a new player, well worth digging into this playlist and just following it all through, and it will get you up to speed in what I know can be a very daunting game. If there's stuff you think I've missed from your first day, let me know about it down in the comment section below. But if you found this helpful, please leave a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.